This one right here, we're talking about an issue in what is happening in Nigeria, the whole West Africa, and the whole entire Africa. Every country in Africa, Europe, North America, South America, Latino, Asian, Russian, every country has a certain kind of a little problem. Everyday life, people are being killed, genocide, bandit, Boko Haram, terrorized. This has an immoral attitude in a society. They're affecting our life, wasting people's life every day in Africa. Every day. As I'm speaking right now, it's happening in Nigeria, some of the part of Africa, in the whole world. So the nation can be divided, but remember, the price of the commodities, it won't change. The life of the people won't change. The things that make it change is to adjust, is to get the vibrant people to lead and no individual cases. You can split a country into 3 part, 4 part, 100 times, but still there will be an issue. Take for example, just like the big family or even the 3 kids in a family. They grow up, everyone have to have his or her family. And one family of 4, none of them will have the same characteristic. No one would like to do the same thing like the other one do, even though they came out from the same womb, the same mother and father. So everyone has his own way of likeness, emotion, feeling, addiction, character, believing, education, skills, talents, common understanding. So all from the same family, none of them will have the same equal way of approaching things. That one is best in science and one is best in technological field. None of them will be the same, but they all came from the same womb. One must be a kind of addiction to certain kind of food, drink, smoke, the same mother, the same father, but they will never be the same. None of their characteristics will be the same. None of them will operate the same way. They can be twins, triplets. None of them will have the same attitude as soon as they came out to this planet Earth. Never divide a country. Wash the lion's cubs. They were born, they played together with the brothers and sisters, but as soon as they grow up, everyone must go and defend her territory. Why? It's a nature. So, if we understand the simplicity way of as it is going on now, divide a nation is not a solution, because you go to open market, you are Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Igons, Juku, Fulani, before you buy food from this tribe. So divide, yes, it's good. Everyone would like to have his or her house, but your brother or sister can't just intrude to your house through the window and just break the window and come to your house, or break the front door and just get to your room, because he is your brother or sister. So if you understand this, and that is how it is in the government, everybody like to have his or her place of rest. The public is a different way of operating. The street is made for everyone, and what is operating on the street, we have to be rules and regulation of a humanity. It's international laws, international rules and regulation of a humanity. So if you say now you are a Muslim, you are a Christian, but you bring your own doctrine, you call it Sharia, which is being manufactured by the way of your religion, doctrine, acceptance. And the Christian would like to bring his or her religion, doctrine. So these are the 2 laws. So why can't everyone practice his or her belief, but the same country? As you are in your house, you can drink, you can party, you can smoke and do what you want. But when you step out of your house, in open market, this is no more your house. You go to the office, it's not your house. Open places, street, is not your house. So That is where the international law is, because the street is for everyone. The government is for everyone. So, if you know this, there will be twice thinking. So no matter how we start dividing a country, it will always be the same cost of living. The cost of living will never change. The rules and regulations on the street will never change. One country is named as B, the other one's named as D, the other one's named as X, the other one named as J, and the other one named as F. But into all these names, all those divisions, bread, and none of that will have different prices in their commodities, in their way of government, in their way of practicing their believing. Before you know, somebody would like to jump out of the frying pan and be on neutral ground because that doctrine doesn't suit he or her again. You can be Muslim, Christian, Hindu, Buddha, agnostic, atheist, paganism. There'll be a time that rules, regulation doesn't suit you anymore. She would like to fly out of that frying pan, be on neutral ground, which is you do what you want to do. But when we get together, we must practice one international rules and regulation, which is the justice, not Sharia. Your Sharia is for your own doctrine, period. I have no any objection against your Sharia, but it suits your religion. It doesn't suit my religion. It doesn't suit my believing. Do we understand this, brothers and sisters? Have your Sharia in your house. Your Sharia is covering your territory. In your mosque, let it be for you. But another man food is another man poison. Okay? Another man trash is another man treasure. So why are you trying to enforce that Sharia into the life of people who are not the same believing brethren and sisters? It's time for you to think wisely. Sharia, it means judgment on your own language, and in my own language, Akombo. Did they sound the same? I don't know any Sharia. I only know about Akumbugo. And you know Sharia. I don't know nothing about that. So why are you trying to enforce it to all nations? Who are you to enforce that type of doctrine? Oh, I came to your place. You give me the food. I say, thank you. I don't eat this type of food. I'm not used to this. And you still have to enforce me to take that food, or enforce me to do what you want me to do because I don't like it. It doesn't fit my system. So, do we understand this now? It's so simple. Baby can understand this. Practicing your religion. Chigaba. I will practice my religion. Chigaba. You can't force your Sharia, the whole nation. How many years since I was born to this very age to try to Islamize Nigeria, and it's still going on. Now we are in 2026, so don't be a fool. Be wise. Another man food is another man poison. Another man trash is another man treasure. This is my cup of tea. And you want me to take that cup of tea? You are forcing me. Your judgment is different from my judgment. In the kingdom of the Most High God, forcing wrong doctrine. You thought that's the right way. When everybody become Muslim, then the earth will be a paradise place, right? But then the Hindu will also say, everybody become a Hindu, will be a paradise place. Atheist will say, no. Atheist is the best. Everybody become an atheist. The agnostic will say, no. Agnostic is the best. No, Christian will say, no. Christian is the best. So stop that bullshit. If what you believe, they will take you to the kingdom of God. Let God be praised. If what you believe will take you to the kingdom of God, Allahu Akbar. Whatever type of religion you believe is left for you. And on one basis, your parent brought you to this planet called Earth. But soon you grew up. They brought it maybe in a Muslim, Christian, Hindu, Buddha, agnostic, atheist, believe your doctrine. But now that you are mature enough to know your left from right, you still practice that? Would you decide? Bottom line, ain't nobody life but yours. And respect your religion. You must respect mine. You don't bring your Sharia business to overrule. You can divide Nigeria 100 times. The commodities in the public market won't change. So, division is disaster. Togetherness is the best. But we must try to accept the differences. It's no more your brother, sister, mother, father. It's your life you're fighting for. Let's listen to this brother just say something about this division in the country.
Go to the market now and present your Christian or Muslim identity to buy goods at a cheaper price. To our party diehards, go to the petroleum station and present your PDP or APC membership card to get fuel at 45 naira per liter. To our regional extremists, go to PHCN and tell them I'm from the north, south, east or west and buy tariff at a cheaper price. To our tribal extremists, go to the market and tell them I'm Hausa, Fulani, Igbo, Yoruba or any tribe in Nigeria and see if they will sell you a bag of rice at 7,000 naira. It's obvious that the politicians have learned that we are so cheap and blinded by our sentiments and they capitalize on it to play with us and play with our future. We are all suffering today. We are united in hunger. We are friends in poverty. We are neighbors in pain. We are relatives in bad roads. We are partners in insecurity. We are brothers and sisters in complaints. We are equal in trouble. But when it's time for election, we are divided by religion, political parties, region, tribe, section. It's time to put our differences aside. It's time we come together and do it ourselves.
Thank the brother Captain Ibrahim Traore. Ever the history of Africa. Thomas Sankara did it, Gaddafi did it, Kwame Nkrumah did it, Patrick Lumumba did it, Stevie Biko protested for the right of his or her life. A lot of brothers, they silent them. Human being dying because of for the right of his or her life.
My name is Ibrahim Traore. I'm 36 years old. I lead Burkina Faso, and I'm about to tell you something that will make you question everything you thought you knew about who you are and where you belong. But before I do, I need you to understand something. This isn't a speech. This isn't politics. This is a family message that's 400 years overdue. Picture this. Your great-great-great-grandmother, chains cutting into her wrists, being dragged onto a slave ship. As the African coastline disappeared into the horizon, she whispered something under her breath. Not a prayer, a promise. We will find each other again. At that exact moment, my great-great-great-great-grandfather stood on that same shore, watching the ship vanish, carving those same words into a baobab tree that still stands today. For 400 years, that promise has echoed across an ocean, whispered by dying slaves to their children, carved into hidden places by Africans who refuse to forget, passed down through 12 generations on both sides of the Atlantic. And today, right now, in this moment, that promise is being fulfilled. Not through governments, not through ceremonies, not through symbolic gestures that make people feel good but change nothing. Through something far more dangerous, through something so powerful that there are people who would rather see me dead than let you hear what I'm about to say. Through something that threatens to shatter 400 years of carefully constructed lies about who we are and what we're capable of when we're together. Stay with me for the next 30 minutes, because what I'm about to reveal will change how you see yourself, how you see Africa, and how you see your own power in this world. The night everything changed. Let me take you back to May 27, 2020. Minneapolis was burning. George Floyd's name was echoing through streets across America. and I was sitting in my office in Ouagadougou at 4 a.m., unable to sleep. I had just taken power through a revolution. I was 34 years old. French military forces were threatening us. Terrorist groups were attacking our villages. My own life was in danger every single day. But that night, I wasn't thinking about any of that. I was watching a video of a black woman in Atlanta screaming at police officers, "We built this country. We bled for this country. And you still treat us like we're nothing." And something inside me broke. Because in that moment, I realized I was watching my sister. Not metaphorically, not symbolically. I was watching my actual family member separated from me by an ocean and 400 years of lies, still fighting the same battle my people are fighting here in Africa. The battle to be seen as human. The battle to be treated with dignity. The battle to control our own destiny. I picked up my phone and called the oldest person in my village. Her name is Mama Fatou. She's 94 years old. She remembers stories her grandmother told her. Stories passed down through 12 generations. "Mama," I said, "when they took our people across the ocean, did we ever stop looking for them?" She was quiet for a long time. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. "Child, every full moon for 400 years, the elders gather at the coast and light fires. We light them so our stolen children can find their way home. We never stopped believing they would return. We never stopped waiting." That's when I understood something that nobody had ever taught me in school. The separation between Africans and African Americans wasn't an accident of history. It was engineered. It was maintained. It was enforced by people who understood that if we ever reconnected, their power would crumble. And that's the night I decided to do something that no African leader has ever attempted before. The letter that broke my heart. 3 months later, something happened that confirmed I was on the right path. I received an envelope with an American stamp. Inside was a 14-page letter from a woman named Dr. Jasmine Carter, a neuroscientist from Houston, Texas. Dr. Carter had spent $15,000 and 5 years tracing her DNA back to a village just 47 kilometers from where I was sitting. She had found the exact compound where her great-great-great-great-grandmother was born. She had found the family name. She had found everything, except one thing. She wrote, "President Traoré, I know exactly where I come from. I can see my ancestral home on Google Maps. I know the names of relatives I never met, but I don't know how to knock on that door. I don't know if they'll recognize me. I don't know if 400 years of separation has made me too American to be African or too African to ever be fully American. I don't know if I'm welcome anywhere." I read that letter 23 times. Each time I felt the same overwhelming rage. Not at Dr. Carter, not at her family in Texas or her family in Burkina Faso, but at the systems that convinced her, a brilliant black woman who had literally mapped her own DNA, that she might not be welcome in her own ancestral home. That night, I did something unprecedented. I got her number from the university directory. I called her at 11 p.m. her time. When she answered, shocked that an African president was on the line, I said, "Dr. Carter, this is Ibrahim Traoré. I read your letter, and I need to tell you something. You are not lost. You were stolen. There's a difference. Lost things might never be found. Stolen things we never stop searching for. We have been searching for you for 400 years. And now that we've found you, do you really think we're going to let you feel like a stranger?" She cried for 20 minutes straight. When she finally spoke, she said something I'll never forget. "Nobody has ever made me feel like my blackness was enough. In America, I'm always too black or not black enough, too successful to understand struggle, or too struggling to deserve success. But you, a man I've never met from a country I've never visited, you just made me feel whole for the first time in my life." That conversation lasted 4 hours. And by the end of it, I had made a decision that would change everything. The secret network, what I'm about to tell you is information that powerful people have tried very hard to keep quiet. After my conversation with Dr. Carter, I started something I called Operation Sankofa, the African symbol that means go back and fetch it. But I didn't announce it. I didn't hold press conferences. I didn't ask for permission. I started quietly reaching out to successful black Americans across every field. Not celebrities, not politicians, not people who wanted attention. I reached out to the software engineer in Seattle, who had created apps used by 50 million people, but nobody knew his face. I reached out to the heart surgeon in Detroit, who had performed 3,000 successful operations, but had never been on TV. I reached out to the financial analyst in New York, who managed $2 billion in assets but wasn't famous. I reached out to the agricultural scientist in North Carolina, who had developed drought-resistant crops that could save millions of lives but worked in complete obscurity. I reached out to excellence that had been ignored, to brilliance that had been taken for granted, to genius that had been undervalued. And I made them all the same offer. What if you didn't have to prove yourself anymore? What if you could just be excellent without constantly having to justify your excellence? What if you could build systems designed for black success instead of always fighting against systems designed for black failure?
Simple. I only pay $10 a month for my internet connection. Fast, unlimited, anywhere.
Have you heard about Ryoko Pro?
The response was overwhelming. Within 6 months, I had connected with 847 highly accomplished African Americans, engineers, doctors, educators, entrepreneurs, scientists, artists, technologists, people who had succeeded in America but felt exhausted by the constant battle to be recognized. And then I did something that made certain powerful people very, very nervous. I brought 50 of them together for a virtual summit that was supposed to last 2 hours. It lasted 11 hours. The summit that changed everything. The summit happened on a Saturday in February 2023. 50 black Americans from across every industry. 50 of the most accomplished people you've never heard of. Because the systems that measure success weren't designed to celebrate black excellence. I opened the meeting with a simple question. What would you build if you didn't have to ask permission? What would you create if you didn't have to prove you deserved resources? What would you accomplish if you could just start with the assumption that your excellence is normal? The room went silent, because for most of them nobody had ever asked them that question before. They had spent their entire lives proving they were good enough, smart enough, capable enough. Nobody had ever just assumed they were excellent and asked them what they wanted to do with that excellence. Then something extraordinary happened. Marcus Chen, yes, that's his Americanized name, but his great-grandfather was from Senegal, stood up. Marcus is a software architect who built critical infrastructure for 3 Fortune 500 companies. He said, for 15 years I've been the only black person in every room I enter. I've been excellent. I've been exceptional. I've exceeded every expectation. And you know what? I'm tired. Not tired of being excellent. Tired of being exceptional. Because exceptional means you're an exception to the rule. I don't want to be an exception anymore. I want to be normal. I want to be excellent in a room full of excellent black people where nobody's surprised by our success. Then Dr. Michelle Washington, a biomedical engineer who holds 17 patents, said something that brought tears to my eyes. I've spent my entire career trying to open doors that were closed to me. But what if we stopped trying to open their doors and started building our own buildings? What if we stopped fighting for a seat at their table and built our own tables? What if we stopped being guests in their systems and became architects of our own? By hour 4, something magical was happening. These weren't just conversations anymore. These were commitments. Marcus announced he was moving to Accra, Ghana for 2 years to build a Pan-African tech infrastructure company. Not to help Africa, to build with Africa. Dr. Washington committed to establishing a biomedical research center in Kigali, Rwanda, specifically designed to solve African health challenges using African resources and African American expertise. James Morrison, a renewable energy specialist, outlined a $50 million investment in solar infrastructure across West Africa. Angela Richards, an education innovator, presented a model for African-centered schools that could be implemented in both Africa and Black American communities. By hour 11, we had commitments totaling $340 million in investment, partnerships spanning 14 African countries, and 50 highly accomplished Black Americans who were ready to relocate, invest, and build in ways that would have seemed impossible just one day earlier. But here's what made this truly revolutionary. These weren't charity projects. These weren't aid initiatives. These weren't Helping Africa programs. These were black people on both sides of the Atlantic recognizing that their liberation was connected, that African development and African American empowerment weren't separate goals. They were the same goal happening in different places. The backlash begins. Of course, not everyone was happy about what we were building. 2 weeks after our summit, strange things started happening. The French embassy in Ouagadougou requested an urgent meeting to discuss my unauthorized international activities. The World Bank suddenly discovered irregularities in a development loan they had already approved. 3 American newspapers published articles in the same week questioning whether African Americans were qualified to participate in African development. But the pressure wasn't just institutional, it was personal and terrifying. Dr. Washington received a call from the FDA, questioning the safety protocols of her planned African Research Center, even though she hadn't even broken ground yet. Marcus was visited by 2 men in suits who claimed to be from the Treasury Department, asking detailed questions about his foreign investments and warning him about potential security concerns. James Morrison's renewable energy company suddenly faced an IRS audit going back 7 years. The message was clear. You can be successful in America. You can even be excellent. But if you try to use that success to build independent black power, especially if you try to connect with Africa, we will make your life very difficult. Then I received a phone call that made everything crystal clear. The threat. The call came at 1:47 a.m. on March 15th, 2023. Unknown number. French country code. When I answered, a voice with a Parisian accent said, "President Traoré, my name is not important. I represent interests that are very concerned about your recent activities." I asked what activities he was referring to. Your meetings with African Americans, your partnerships, your plans to create economic bridges between the continent and the diaspora. These activities are destabilizing to established relationships. They're complicating very delicate situations. I told him I didn't understand what was complicated about family members reconnecting. He laughed. "President Traoré, surely you understand that Africa benefits from established partnerships with experienced development organizations. African Americans, while well-meaning, don't understand the complexities of African development. They could disrupt systems that have taken decades to establish." Then his voice turned cold. Thomas Sankara had similar ideas about African independence. He wanted to unite Africa. He wanted to resist foreign control. He wanted to build partnerships outside traditional frameworks. You know what happened to Thomas Sankara? The threat was unmistakable. Thomas Sankara, the revolutionary president of Burkina Faso, was assassinated in 1987 for challenging French control and imagining an independent Africa. But here's what this man didn't understand about me. I didn't become president because I was afraid of threats. I became president because I refused to accept them. "Let me tell you something," I responded. Thomas Sankara's mistake wasn't his vision. His mistake was thinking he could do it alone. But I'm not alone. I have 847 African Americans who are just as committed to this vision as I am. I have investments from people who can't be threatened by French banks because they're not in French banks. I have expertise from people who can't be stopped by visa restrictions because they're already citizens of the most powerful country in the world. And most importantly, I continued, I have something you can never take away from us. We have found each other again. And now that we know what's possible when we work together, no threat is going to make us forget. The line went dead. But I knew the real fight was just beginning. The breakthrough nobody saw coming despite the pressure, despite the threats, despite every obstacle they threw at us. Something beautiful was happening that nobody could stop. The projects we had started were working, not just surviving, thriving. Marcus's tech company had grown to 47,000 users across 9 African countries in just 8 months. Not because of charity, because it was solving real problems that Silicon Valley had ignored. Dr. Washington's Biomedical Center had attracted applications from 340 African American healthcare professionals, not for missionary work, for career opportunities. James Morrison's solar projects were generating electricity in 23 villages that had never had power, not as aid, as profitable business. But the most powerful thing happening wasn't the projects, it was the people. I'll never forget meeting a woman named Keisha Thompson. Keisha is a corporate lawyer from Chicago, Harvard Law School, partner at a major firm by age 34, successful by every American measure. She came to Burkina Faso for a 2-week exploratory visit to look at business opportunities. She's been here for 8 months now. On her last planned day before she decided to extend indefinitely, she asked to meet with me. We sat in a small cafe in Ouagadougou, and she told me something I'll never forget. "President Traoré, I've been successful in America. I've made partner. I've won big cases. I've made good money. But you know what I've never experienced until I came here? I waited. I've never experienced being in a room full of powerful people where nobody was surprised I was there. I've never experienced being excellent without it being remarkable. I've never experienced being normal." She started crying. "In America, when I win a case, people say, wow, she's so articulate for a black woman. When I make partner, they say she's so accomplished despite her background. When I lead a meeting, they're impressed that I'm so confident. Everything I do is measured against their low expectations. But here," she continued, "here, when I negotiate a contract, nobody's surprised I'm good at it. When I provide legal strategy, nobody's amazed I'm smart. When I lead, nobody's shocked I'm capable. I'm just excellent, normally excellent. And I didn't realize how exhausting it's been to always be exceptionally excellent until I experienced what it feels like to just be regularly excellent. That's when I understood what we were really building. We weren't just creating economic partnerships or development projects. We were creating spaces where black excellence could be normal, where black people could be brilliant without having to constantly prove their brilliance, where achievement could be expected rather than surprising. We were creating home, the moment that changed everything. 6 months ago, something happened that proved this movement had reached a point of no return. A 67-year-old African-American man named Robert Hayes came to visit me. Robert had been a successful aerospace engineer for 40 years, worked on satellites, defense projects, space technology, retired with a good pension, living comfortably in Florida. He came to my office with a folder full of documents and a look of determination I'll never forget. "President Traoré," he said, "I need to tell you something. I'm too old to move to Africa permanently. My wife's health won't allow it. My grandchildren are in America. But I've spent 40 years developing technologies that could revolutionize communication infrastructure in Africa. He opened his folder and showed me patents, designs, technical specifications for satellite communication systems specifically adapted for African terrain and African budgets. These patents are worth approximately $45 million, he continued. I'm transferring them to a cooperative I'm forming with African engineers. Not selling them, transferring them, because this technology doesn't belong to me. It belongs to us. It belongs to our people, and I'm not going to let it die in some American patent office when it could transform how rural African communities communicate. I was speechless. This man who had every reason to simply enjoy his retirement, to relax, to let someone else worry about Africa's problems, was giving away his life's work because he understood something profound. His liberation and our liberation were connected. His success meant nothing if his family, his African family, was still struggling. His wealth meant nothing if his people, his global people, were still poor. His genius meant nothing if it couldn't be used to uplift his community, his international community. That's when I realized this movement had transcended anything I had initiated. It had become something organic, something unstoppable, something that lived in the hearts of black people across the globe who were hungry for connection, starving for solidarity, desperate to be part of something bigger than their individual success. The vision nobody expected. While the media looks elsewhere, something powerful is happening quietly. A young software engineer from Oakland has opened a coding academy in Nairobi, training hundreds of African programmers, paying them while building the team for her next company. A doctor from Baltimore is launching a medical school in Accra that blends modern medicine with African healing, attracting record numbers of African American students. A financial analyst from New York has created an investment fund connecting African American capital directly to African businesses. An agricultural scientist from Alabama is helping African farmers combine ancient knowledge with modern tech, doubling crop yields. These aren't isolated projects, they're connected. Doctors serve the tech workers, investors fund the farmers, coders build systems for the schools. This isn't charity, it's an ecosystem. Black excellence without permission. The truth. They fear Africa wasn't kept poor because of lack of talent. It was designed to be extracted. African Americans weren't marginalized because of lack of excellence. It was designed to limit black power. These are the same system. And the one thing it cannot survive is Africans on the continent reconnecting with Africans in the diaspora. Because when African resources combine with African American capital, skills and networks, the balance of power changes. That's why we were separated. That's why they fear reunion. We don't need their aid. We don't need their permission. We need each other. The real story. A 94-year-old woman in Burkina Faso once said the stolen children would return. When a black American scientist finally traced her roots and came home, she was welcomed not as a stranger but as family. A bracelet saved for generations was placed on her wrist. In that moment she found what science couldn't give her, proof she was never forgotten. This movement isn't about money or politics, it's about belonging. The power shift, real power, is controlling the story. For 400 years they told us Africa was poor and African Americans were powerless. But the truth is simple. Africa holds vast resources, land, youth and growth. African Americans hold massive spending power, education, expertise and networks. Together, that's not hope, that's mathematics. The only reason we haven't become that force before is because we were kept apart. We aren't anymore. The invitation you've been waiting for, to every African American listening. You have spent your life proving yourself in systems never built for your success. You have already proven everything. You have nothing left to prove. The question now is not where you belong, but what you want to build. This is not a call to move to Africa. It's a call to shift from climbing someone else's ladder to building your own systems, from seeking belonging to creating spaces where belonging is assumed. Africa is ready, not because it needs saving, but because it is one of the few places where black excellence can be normal, not exceptional. Here's the offer. Entrepreneurs, unsaturated markets and real scale. Professionals, leadership that's valued, not resisted. Educators, systems built for black excellence from the ground up. Investors, returns that build communities, not extract from them. Elders, respect, honor and belonging. More than anything, this is an offer to be excellent without explanation, powerful without threat, successful without surprise, to be home. The promise you will not be treated as a savior but as returning family. You won't be asked to choose between Africa and America. Both will be honored. You won't have to earn your seat. It was set 400 years ago. The call after 400 years of separation. The door between Africa and the diaspora is open wider than ever. The question isn't whether you're ready. The question is whether you'll walk through it. From proving to building. From success to significance. From excellence to impact, our ancestors prayed for this reunion. That prayer has been answered. Now it's on us to build the future they never got to see. Come home, not to the past, but to the future. Your family is waiting. Your seat has always been yours. The reunion has begun. Will you join us?
Thank you, Nigeria. Thank you, Africa. Thanks for understanding. And may God be with all of you.